All right, welcome to the Next Student Athlete podcast. I'm your host, Sam Chairman. Today, I'm joined by my two friends who I've been friends with forever, Stephen Graney on the bottom in the blue sweatshirt and Paul Perricone in the green. These guys I played hockey with my whole life. They both play for the Haverford Hawks organization. Stephen went to Cardinal O'Hara High School and Paulie went to Haverford Public School. They both now play hockey at Kutztown University. And that's really it for an intro, but we're going to get into our travel hockey careers right first, then we'll go into high school hockey, then college, and then if we have time, we'll talk about the Flyers as we all are diehard fans. So first off, I just want to ask you boys, how you doing?
Doing all right.
Oh, go ahead, Paul. Take it.
I'm doing all right. It's nice up here at college, but there's a little bit of an adjustment. But other than that, I'm doing all right.
How about you, Graney?
Yeah, I mean, college it's been really fun outside the classroom. In the classroom, it's a little bit of a struggle right now, but you know what? I think we're gonna figure that out. I think we are.
That's good to hear. So first we'll just get into Hawks because I know we all love the program. So Paula, you started, if I'm correct, as well as you, Granny, you started around 5 or 6 years old, maybe 4.
Yeah, around that.
And what was that like? Did you know from right from then that this was a game you loved and wanted to play through college, or did you just kind of let that or did you not know at the moment?
I knew I liked hockey. I didn't know I was gonna play for how long that we've been playing, but I mean, I remember I was always drawn to the Flyers games when they were on. And, when I started out, I couldn't even skate. I was skating around practice with the chair. And, I was kind of just out there just to be out there really. And then as you get older, your game progresses, and here we are now.
How about you, Granny?
I mean, my story is kind of the same. I actually started off with skating lessons at the Springfield ice rink as a kid. Mm-hmm. And then it honestly had nothing to do with hockey. I just was taking skating lessons just to learn how to skate. And then this guy who my dad was friends with in high school, he was a Adams coach for the Hawks that year, and he told my dad I should sign up, and then I signed up, fell in love with it, and then the rest is history from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much the same for me. But just to skip ahead a few years, then we'll go back when this really goes to Paul directly because Granny sadly weren't on our team this year, but. I mean, Paulie, we played on a number of teams together. Wouldn't have traded for anything. But let's go back to our last year of Bantams and talk about our team with Coach Gates, Bill Gates, and actually. And I mean, as a year, last year before it got really competitive in 16s and 18s. What was that like? I mean, the group was pretty special, but I feel like that was the first year where we really connected as a team, and some of those guys played together for consecutive years in a row. I mean, take us through that year, going to the playoffs, going to Hershey, doing pretty well the whole year.
Yeah, that was a rough year. I mean, we didn't even know we had a coach until a couple of weeks before the season when Gates stepped up there. And then, we did those roller hockey things over there at that rink in Belmont. And I was like, this is going to be a shaky year. We had 2 guys quit before. And so it was really the 5 of us putting in the work for that whole team. And then once we went up, you could tell there was a bond with all the guys right away. But then once we went up to, where was it that year? Hershey, yeah. Once we went up to Hershey, staying in a hotel over a few nights, playing a couple games. We all really clicked, and then we went on a run there, fell a little bit short with the push line, but and then we carried that momentum into the playoffs. We won a game, and it was a good year, but we relied on the 5 of us a lot. So
so a lot of you listening don't know, but Paulie and I on this line had a line of just 5 kids that played anywhere from 5 minutes straight, which is which is unheard of, but. Just a follow-up question on that year. I mean, we didn't know we had goalie. We didn't know who our goalies were really going to be just because of the way tryouts worked out until a few weeks before the season, some other coach. And I mean, our defense is pretty good that year. Do you think that had a role in it? Just knowing you had to step up every game, just not like knowing we didn't get the goalies maybe wanted going into that season.
Yeah, I mean, I knew as a defenseman, I wanted to step my game up personally, and that year, and I think I did, and that was probably a part of it. Like we had a little bit of shaky goaltending, all season, and I think as a group, we all, stepped up there and kind of took it to another level where we could just play and be offensive and not really worry about like the lack in the net.
Yeah. And then so aside from that, you're Granny, we'll get you involved here. So I think this was like the first time in a while we had played all three of us together, even though we'd all known each other, stayed in touch. But our 16 AA year, I mean, that was also similar. I mean, wasn't as easy of a year maybe as far as winning as what Paul and I just talked about. But I mean, we had a lot of rough patches, but if we can just skip ahead to our Rochester tournament, I mean, I feel like while a lot of us were close, I feel like that's where, I mean, these tournaments, you hear about it all the time within every sport, but I think hockey's definitely has its special bond. I mean, do you think that really helped us connect, like, especially to move into the year of 18s?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, that team, we may not have had the most success on the ice, but off the ice, that was by far probably the most fun I had in a season.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had a good group of guys. We were hilarious. I mean, most of that can go to Matthew Donatucci himself.
Yeah.
Really kept this locker room together.
Yeah. I mean, of course. So Matt Donatucci was one of our assistant captains, including myself, but he was definitely the locker room guy that just kept everyone, even when like after a tough loss or something, just kept everything light. But I think for me, I don't know about you guys, I think I knew that team was going to be special as far as just a bond when we were up in North Jersey for that tournament at the end of the summer. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think that was pretty like telling of what this group was going to be. Whether we had the most success on or off the ice, we weren't that consistent, but I think that really showed that regardless, it was going to be a good year. And then now that 16 AA team, a lot of the guys, it was a good mix of the guys from the 16s, but 18s, we had a lot of returners, and just that was a group that really from the start was pretty dominant. And we had like a stretch, we had injuries. We played like maybe 2 games with a full team, but that was a stretch that was pretty dominant. And we ended up ranked 64th in the country out of AA teams and 215th. I'm looking at out of every team in the country, including A, AAA, AA. So that was pretty special. I mean, as far as the last year for you guys, because you guys are now in college, I'm still a senior in high school playing for the organization. But as far as you do you think there was anything about that year you would have wanted to go differently, or was that pretty much ideal? Of course, maybe the champion, like losing a championship, wasn't ideal, but as far as the team atmosphere and the way it worked out with COVID and everything, is there anything that you maybe wanted to change? Granny, on first.
I agree.
I mean, me and Nick McKay, I mean, we really went all out to get the best team we possibly could, and I think we were pretty successful with that. I really think we were. I mean, that was the most talented team I ever played on, Hawks wise. And then on top of that, we also had the worst luck I ever seen on a team ever. We had injuries. Then COVID on top of that. I mean, if a kid was around someone who tested positive, they were quarantined, done for 2 weeks. Like it was a struggle with everything going on last year. But overall, I mean, with the injuries and COVID, I think we did our best, and I'm very proud of what that team did.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we play with 18 skaters and 2 goalies with a full roster, and I think by the time we hit the playoffs, we had 12 guys healthy.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's
2 lines, 4D.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, look, we made it to the champion. You couldn't really ask more out of a group in a crunch time to just pull it together. But I think for me too, like just being on a team, even though I was only played like 6 games that year due to injury, that was definitely the most talented Hawks team I've ever been on. I think one thing that hurt us is, and you talked about luck too, but not having the locker room, which is, I mean, you don't get that in youth sports a lot. That's definitely the most important thing, I think, as far as building a team. And I think, we were talented, but we didn't really hit our stride till late because of that.
Yeah.
So
I think we also gonna go look back at the practices too.
yeah,
Like, we could go on and on for the practices, but like just like the lack of like seriousness from like everybody really, we'd show up to practice and it's kind of just like, damn, we'll show up, we'll do the drills, but nobody was ever really like into it and wanted to get better as a team and as an
mhm,
individual.
yeah. And now just to finish up about the Hawks, I'll start with Paul here. What's your favorite memory from the Hawks? I mean, there's a lot, so I know.
Favorite memory? Oh man. I'd probably have to say either winning the Stanley Cup as a mite or just like being away on tournaments with everybody and just playing in the hotels and around the rink and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Lake Placid was pretty fun.
Yeah, Lake Placid came to my mind.
I definitely would have to say Lake Placid was up there, but overall, I think Finland was just
Yeah,
definitely.
I think for me I think that's the best. I know Paul unfortunately wasn't able to join Graney and I on that trip, but
Yeah.
I think we could talk about that a little bit too. I really wasn't thinking about that, but I think that's definitely got to be the greatest memory, just because of the connections you made, not let alone from hockey. But Graney, you want to explain what that Finland exchange is like?
It's awesome. I mean, it was an amazing experience from top to bottom. We got to see a lot of new things, try a lot of new things, but I definitely would have to say that trip really opened up my eyes to how good you have to be to really succeed at a high level in this game.
Yeah,
Like I saw what these kids were doing. They're practicing before school, after school. They got off ice workouts every single day, and it really showed me how just dedicated you have to be to want to succeed.
yeah, I think that. I mean, so our club, Hadford Hawks, does an organization or does a program with a team in Finland, and basically 1 year through I think it's like the ages of 12 and 14. 1 year they'll come to you, and then the next year you'll go over there and play for like a week. I mean, and it was the site, like the things we saw. We did a bunch of traveling there, and it was just amazing. I mean, like Granny said, you really see these kids are just playing every day, multiple times. I mean, and it shows. They're really good.
They're
Uh,
psychos. They're absolute
yeah,
psychos.
yeah. So and then aside from club hockey, let's move into high school, especially you, Paulie, because of last year's run. But I want to talk about your freshman year for both of you. I mean, for Hawks, we always playing against kids our age, maybe like a year, maybe half a year older, if that. But what was that like when you stepped on the ice, your first varsity game, realizing you're playing against guys that might be 4.5 years older than you?
Yeah, my freshman year was an interesting year. I was probably the last pick for our varsity's team. I swung that year. And I was definitely scared, like some of these guys, they were 18. I was 15, they had like 50 pounds on me, a couple inches. So it was definitely a little bit intimidating, but I didn't play much my freshman year. So, but like even from not playing, just being at practices and on the bench during games, like you could see major improvement in your game. So like it was kind of interesting and cool to see that.
Yeah. What about you, Granny? We had a different program too, so just
Yeah, I mean, I went into a Catholic high school, so my freshman year, my story is pretty similar to Paul's. I was probably the last forward pick for that varsity team that year. My freshman year, we had guys who went on to go play juniors, and I think one of them plays D1 at Holy Cross now. The team was disgusting. Like I never played on a team like that. I never really played much, but just being like around the team, watching how they act, how they practice, how they get locked in before getting on the ice before games. It really just showed me like what I would have to be when I become an upperclassman, and I'm the guy who has to take over.
Mhm. And then you, Granny, I think you won your first. When did you win your first championship? Was it that year?
We won the PCL my freshman year and sophomore year we won.
Okay. So, and like, I mean, I don't think you'd ever won a championship with the Hawks, like in league play, aside from tournaments. So that one must have been pretty cool to go back to back.
Actually, I did win a
Oh,
DVHL thing
you
with
did.
Hawks.
Yes, that was the year Paulie and I were not with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the year that you guys decided to go go try new things,
Yeah. Yeah.
experience the world out there.
And then Paul, so we'll skip ahead to your junior year, which was a good season until the end. I know this one's tough to talk to you. I mean, so like pretty much heavy favorites to win against Springfield, and then you can walk into the stadium, which is our home rink, and it's packed. I mean, it's like, oh, I remember I went to watch and I had to park 3 blocks away just to get like a tiny spot that my car barely fit into. And I mean, when I walked in, I couldn't move 3 feet without bumping into someone. Everything was packed. It was loud. And talk about that, just playing in front of that. I mean, that's got to be electric. There must have been a few that like over 1,000 people in there, and then just losing in overtime to a team that you were favored to beat. I mean,
we get to the championship game, and like we find out that we're playing Springfield and like our rivals at home. Like we literally couldn't be ran up any better. Like this is what we wanted all year. This is what we've been working for. And yeah, I mean, I've never seen that place that packed. Like none of us were like, we knew that we were gonna have a good student section. We knew they were gonna have a good student section. But I mean, none of us were anticipating that. None of us have ever played in front of an environment like that. So I think we were a little nervous, and that kind of affected us. And then, we score first. And then obviously as the game progresses, we get into overtime, and I'm on the ice. And I see my defensive partner, throw it up to the point, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is probably it right here. See it come down and then get a rebound, and the place just erupts. And it was a tough pill to swallow for a while. And then we go in the Flyers Cup that year with high expectations, another favor to win it, and we lose in semis in the last couple minutes. So junior year was definitely a tough year, and those memories are still with me.
Yeah, and I mean, so then going into your senior year, really, like you had a strong senior group led by your captain and our captain for Hawks too, Jacob Arazi, who was just absolutely disgusting. But just, do you think there was just a different tone in the locker room that you're just not letting that happen? Because you go all the way back to play Springfield again, who really hadn't lost that much, if I'm correct, and beat them 11-0 in the championship.
11-1. Yeah, I think this year we were just, all right, like we're the guys that's got to get it done. We're the senior group. This is our last shot at it. So we're like, we got to do everything we can to get this done. Our coach was hard on us all year with COVID, and how he wants us to play, how he's expecting us to play. So then by the time we got to the playoffs, we were just rolling. And then, yeah, we get back to that Central League game, and we take care of business like pretty early into the game. I get kicked out, but it definitely felt good to get revenge on those guys.
Yeah. And so really just then you go, after you win the championship in the Central League, you go to the Flyers Cup, which is basically the state tournament for this side of Pennsylvania, and then from our area, like all the teams, Eastern PA, and then you go to state championship against who did you play? Was it the Baldwin School?
Baldwin High School, yeah.
Baldwin High School from Pittsburgh, and you end up losing. But was that really like winning the Flyers Cup, which is, I mean, like every kid wants to do that. That's a high school hockey player around here, and winning the Central League. Was that really just kind of enough for you at that point? The state championship was a tough pill to swallow because, I mean, what's wrong with winning state? But like you won 2 championships in your last.
Yeah, Flyers Cup, Flyers Cup was one of my better memories. And I think I was more, our goal as all the players on our team, our goal was to win Flyers Cup, and our coach really wanted the state championship. So when we got to it's not that we didn't want to win, like we definitely wanted to win a state championship. We wanted the rings and all that, but like, it was kind of like, this may be it kind of feeling for the boys. But I mean, the state champ, like that game's going to stay with me for a while. We didn't have the best officiating, can't really blame it on that, but you always think to yourself, like, what if this happened, or what if this wasn't called? Like, what would have happened? What could have been?
Right. And then let's take both of you now. aside from high school hockey, now you're both in college playing on the Division II club team, which is pretty damn competitive, especially because you guys are the top team. There's multiple teams, and you guys are on the top one as freshmen. Now, what's it like? I mean, you guys grew up playing with the same guys your whole life, and I know you guys still have each other, but you're not with Jake, me, Matt, like Callie, Nick, like all those guys. Like, what's it like to play in college with a whole new group? And is it just like, what's it? I mean, the level of play is going to be higher too, because now you're playing with guys that are up to like what, like 21, 22 years old. Like, what's that like? Great, you can start too.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I came in, I didn't know anyone's name except Paul. And right off the bat, you could just tell that it was a new team, new environment. It definitely took some getting used to, I say, but now that now that we're settled in, I really feel like this team has a lot of promise for the season, and I could really see us doing some damage this year, like as long as we stick to our game and do our job.
Yeah.
We came into that pre-skate. We had a pre-skate before school started at the beginning of August. And me and Granny went in, it was like, who are all these guys? Some of these guys, like, they're grown men. Like you said, we could be playing kids that are up to like 24, 23, 24 years old. Like, we have a 23-year-old on our team. So it definitely took some weird time getting it used to, but I mean, once we kind of got the team and like we started hanging around with everybody, like everybody just took us in as if we've been there for like years and like we've all been friends. So it's great to have all these guys up here. They're real nice.
Yeah. And I mean, we can go back to just playing together. Like, my next question is about like what the structure of the whole program is like. I mean, we go from the locker room, like realizing you don't have tape for your stick like 2 minutes before a game. You got to go run and like find like $5 just to get a few rolls or something like that, or realizing like a lace broke or something like that. Now you guys have a locker room. You guys got team managers, like skates, like you don't have to pay for shopping. I mean, like, do you think that makes it easier to focus on just the game instead of all the outside stuff before?
I'll go first here for sure. It's a big difference. I love it. I mean, we have tape, skate sharpening, laces. You basically summed it up. I mean, it really feels like a high-end hockey team here. Like, I feel like we definitely have some things that we were not provided in the past. So I'm definitely enjoying it. And yeah, I just got to say it's been great so far. It really has been.
Yeah. What about you, Paul? Same
Yeah,
thing?
our managers are great with supplying everything, Gatorade in the locker room in between periods and whatnot. And all, like he said, we have black, white, clear, like anything you need, they'll get for you. You'll have it. So it definitely does make the game a little bit easier to think about because you don't have to worry about like, oh no, I only got enough clear for one leg or whatever. Like that stuff's gonna be there, and then you can just worry about yourself and worry about your game.
And just to end up this segment, like, I mean, you guys have been, going to be honest, you guys had 4 games. You guys have been lighting up so far. I mean, Paul, you got 4 games played. You got 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. And Graney, you got just 1 more goal than Paul, 3 goals and 4 assists for 7 points. You're in the penalty box a little bit, which isn't anything new if anybody knows you, but it looks like you guys are lighting it up. So congrats on that. And just for the last section of today's podcast, just let's talk about the Flyers. I know we're all diehard fans. Let's talk about the big guys. So it concluded the first preseason tonight. So what do you think? I mean, they gotta win a playoff series at least this year. What do you guys think about this?
I think this, for a lot of guys, this could be a lot of guys last year on the Flyers because they need to start, as my light went out, they need to figure their stuff out over in Philly because, there's a window and the window's closing with like the core that we have. So this is a big year for a lot of guys.
And you're spending a good amount of money too.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. I mean, you got your current cap hits like over 81 million. I mean, that's pretty, especially in hockey, it's pretty good amount. So You really got to figure stuff out. I mean, I know, Paul, you've been a little hard on him. I don't know about you, Granny. I don't know as much about your thoughts, but got a third year going in with this coach. What do you think, Elaine Vigneault, what do you think he's got to do, or the team's got to do around him to really keep his job? I mean, 3 years, if they don't do it, he's going to be out probably.
I mean, it's a even year, as Paulie would say. You know, the Flyers, they suck one year, the next year they come out and they're in the playoffs. Just how it is. I don't know why or how they work like this, but they do. I mean, I really think I like the fact that they're just remodeling this team. Like, they picked up guys like Ellis and Atkinson, and just like guys like that. And then there's young kids like Cam York, Morgan Frost, just guys like that. I'm just excited to watch. And then hopefully Joel Farabee can have a season like he just had in the past. Drew.
And you bring in good veteran presence with Keith Yandel too.
Yeah, Keith Yandel.
And then just, I mean, I think he's going to be fine. I think last year was a different year just because, I mean, it was different for everybody. But Ian Carter Hart bounces back to what we know he can do.
I think he definitely bounces back. I think on paper, our team is definitely better than last year. It's definitely an improvement. I think, you know, everything with COVID last year, you know, having the breaks and all that kind of got to Carter's head a little bit. That hopefully, I'm thinking he bounces back though. I'm thinking our D plays nice in front of him. I'm thinking, you know, hopefully guys like, you know, Frost will step up right now with the absence of Hayes for 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, this right now, if you're Morgan Frost, your eyes should be blowing up. Like,
Yeah.
You should be so excited. Like, you have a legitimate time period to prove that you can play in the NHL. And I think he has to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, that was going to lead to my last question for both of you. It's first preseason game tonight, so everything gets going like within like, what time is it? I mean, it's 5:45. You got less than 2.5 hours until puck drops for the first game preseason. But who do you think, besides Sean Couturier or Claude Giroux, who do you think they're like the dark horse to be like a really like strong and like influential and like an impactful player for this year? I mean, between guys like Lawton, Hayes to bounce back, Provorov, Ellis.
I mean, for me, I think the biggest guy this year is Cam York.
Yeah.
He was high draft pick for us. Caulfield was on the board when he was taken. A little upset about it, but after watching Cam York play, I mean, like, I look into his game a little bit more and more, and I really like what he brings to the table. And I honestly could see him growing confidence as the year goes on. I think he's going to be very successful and a great overall defenseman for the Flyers.
Yeah.
I think Konechny needs to really
I agree.
step up his game over here, Travis, because you know, his numbers just okay. You know, we kind of need him to take like that second line sniper role almost. But it's like Lindblom. I think Lindblom's gonna have a bounce back year. And then somebody I would like to see, like I would love to see Zamula. I think we're gonna see a lot of him this year, but you know, big defenseman. And I think the Flyers need that, you know, some guy who can just go out there, you know, kill penalties, block a shot, or do whatever, play the body. So I'm excited for this team.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, it's going to help in every city, but especially Philadelphia having that full capacity back in the stadium. I mean, they love that, especially in a city like ours. Like, the fans are just, and I'm proud to be one of them. We're just, they'll get on the other team.
You know, we'll be at one of those.
Yeah, we'll be at the games, all three of us. So, yeah, that's really it, boys. Thank you for coming on. Glad I got to talk to you both for a while. Hasn't been the same without you guys at the Hawks, but really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. That's fun.